Hi, so my original health goal was to overall just make healthier choices when it came to dealing with my stress. But more specifically, my main goal was to not use like alcohol and going out as like a coping mechanism for all that stress. With like exams, homework, clubs, meetings, etc. It all can get like very overwhelming sometimes, like for every college student. And I just noticed that I would be super productive for like a week straight, like be really great. And then like I would find myself so burnt out. And then once I was done, I would be like, all right, I need to like go have fun for a night. So I would go out with my friends and just overdo it. And then I would end up it's like a vicious cycle. I'd always feel terrible afterwards. And then it would just really affect like my productivity for the rest of the week. And like surprisingly, I never really correlated my stress with like going out and like how that was affecting each other. But it actually ended up being a vicious cycle, like I said, where like the more I was doing that, the more stressed out I would get. And so it would just keep happening. But it was really something that I started to notice this year, and I really wanted to make a conscious effort and try and change that. So I would say that I'm at about a 7 out of 10 from where I started at the beginning of the semester. I have gotten a lot busier than at the beginning of the semester. My classes were pretty easy at the beginning, and I didn't have a job. Now I just got a job working in a restaurant. My classes are getting more intensive, as the semester goes on. I would say some challenges that I've been facing are trying to juggle all of the demands that I face in one day. I'm sort of like a yes man. I really hate letting people down, especially my superiors, like my bosses at work. If they ask me to work an extra shift or stay later, I always feel compelled to say yes, even if I have a million things to do and like I just physically can't work. This is something that I've been conscious of for a really long time. My parents raised me to go above and beyond in everything I do, so I think I carried that over to become a slightly negative trait for me, because it's almost to the point where like I'm spreading myself way too thin, which sort of affects how I can do in certain areas. So while my demands have definitely increased this semester, I have made more of an effort, though, to prioritize myself and my own sanity in a way over others' expectations. So I think especially when dealing with stress, mental health is a very important component. I am trying to plan my weeks out ahead of time, be aware of every due date, my work schedule, extra events, etc. I've gotten a planner. I've written everything out. I look at least 2 weeks ahead of time, before I commit to things now, or at least I try to. So that way I'm just no longer blindsided, because I know that created a lot of stress for me, where like I wouldn't realize something was due and I would have picked up a work shift or committed to going somewhere with someone, and I hate letting people down, so then I would just have to try and fit it in, and then I wouldn't be doing my best work. I don't want to be blindsided, and also I know how much extra I can fit in that week without becoming behind. I've also definitely made more of a conscious effort to be aware of my stress levels. I think one of my main issues was that I would also, let all of my stress build up and not try to alleviate it as it came, but instead deal with it all at once. So I would just sort of like compartmentalize it all for the week while I was doing all of the assignments, not really let it affect me at all. And then all of a sudden it would just like hit me. So to try and like fight that, I've tried to spend at least 30 minutes a day of like relaxing, I guess, like not watching Netflix, not listening to music, like without thinking about my schedule, like without thinking about work. I will just sit and relax on the couch or in my bed or at the dining room table and just sort of like, not really meditate, because I'm not sitting there like with my eyes closed, like humming or anything, but I'll just kind of like sit there and like I won't be on my phone, I won't be texting people, I won't be scrolling through Facebook, like sort of just like disconnecting for a little bit. Like sometimes I'll read a book just for fun, because I really haven't done that in a while, and it's like nice, it's relaxing for me. So another challenge that I've definitely had is that while my workload has increased and my stress levels are rising, so is everyone else's around me. I'm aware that like I'm definitely not the only person dealing with stress. All of my friends, my roommates, they're all having similar issues of stress and wanting to have fun and let loose for the night. Like, I don't really think there's an issue with that. Like, we are in college and like there are things, I don't think that there's anything wrong with going out and having fun with your friends, but I have found that I am still struggling a little bit with finding my limit, I guess, of like where I think the best place to stop is, and that is healthy, and that doesn't make me like the healthy place to stop where I'm not trying to use that as a coping mechanism instead of just to have fun. I have distanced myself a little bit from my friends who go out all the time and like never seem to have issues with scheduling. Like I just am not that kind of person, and I realized that like I can't continue to follow like their lifestyle because it's just not for me. I have to plan and get lots of sleep also, because that really has helped me also decrease my stress. I found that if I plan my weeks out better, like I said, I'm actually getting way more sleep and in turn I've felt a lot better. So then it makes me just more ready to take on the day. As far as the exercising goal that I set for myself, which was to exercise for 30 minutes a day, at least 3 to 4 times a week, that has not really happened. Not to make up excuses, but now that I work at a restaurant, I am on my feet moving constantly for 5 hours at a time, at least 3 days a week. So in a way, I am getting some neat exercises in, like I learned about in nutrition, where it's like an alternative to like actual physical exercise, where you're doing like everyday activities, like instead of sitting down on the couch, like you can be moving around or like cleaning while you're watching TV. So like constantly walking and standing is still like giving me a little bit of exercise, which is good. I do feel healthier. My energy levels have increased because if I have to be at work the next day early, I go to bed early and make sure I eat a wholesome meal before going into work because I know I'll be starving at the end. I think that while too many demands do cause me stress, like I said, I like being overwhelmed and taking on too much. I do feel like, though, having a firm schedule that I have to work around every week, like having a strict work schedule and class schedule, is a good stressor in a way, like a good stressor, because it really makes me have to sit down every week and plan out more in advance, like I talked about earlier, which in turn makes me less stressed out than if I don't have anything to plan around and then I'm just kind of winging it. So definitely for the rest of the semester, I'm going to continue to meditate for at least 30 minutes a day, like I said, because I really do feel like that has helped me the most to decompress in a healthy way. It just kind of gives me like my own time and like I'm not worrying about anybody else, and it sort of just makes me more like relaxed to take on the day and ready. For my schedule, I have like set limits for myself to the certain amount of shifts at work per week I'm willing to pick up, and like I spoke with my managers and said this is the absolute most, like 3 shifts, that's it. And I also do plan for a certain amount of homework time each day. So like, even if I don't necessarily have an assignment due the next day, I'm working on one that's due maybe in 4 days. Just so like, if I have the time to do it that day, I should work on it a little bit. After that, whatever extra time I have in the day will go towards all of my extracurriculars. And this is not including like meetings that I already have scheduled, but like, hanging out with friends, going to lunch, like, going to a movie or something, like things that really weren't planned. Well, I don't think I need to have a hard limit on how many times I can go out because I never really like went out that frequently. That wasn't really the problem. I am aiming for really only like once a week or even every 2 weeks, just because like I don't really have the time at the moment. Like I said, like that's an extra thing that I just don't have time to schedule in. I am going to continue also to make healthier food choices like I have been lately, and getting enough sleep, which I think is a really big key, because I think when you put good in, you get good out, like that phrase says. So hopefully by the end of the semester, I can say that I have successfully found healthier ways to cope with my stress and also learned to decrease my stress overall by being more organized and just making healthier lifestyle choices.